Like, subscribe, and share. Now, before I get into this petrodollar lie or propaganda, let me ask you a question. How is trickle down doing? How is trickle down doing? Remember trickle down? The cutting of corporate taxes, and something was supposed to trickle down, but nothing has trickled down. I think the reason why nothing has trickled down is because since the trickle down theory started, the minimum wage hasn't moved. Perhaps if they would have connected the minimum wage with the tax cuts to the rich and their corporations, perhaps something would have trickled down. That something being we would have been paid a decent wage for the work that we have been doing. But enough about that. Let's talk about this so-called petrodollar deal that was supposedly signed in June 8th, 1974 with Saudi Arabia, in which they were only going to sell their oil by using the American dollar. Well, that's a lie also. Saudi Arabia never promised to do that. And why on God's green earth would they promise to only sell their oil in dollars? That would only limit their sales. It would only limit their sales, and it would force them to use the American dollars and everyone else. And why would everyone want to be forced to use the American dollar? Well, and I say this because it was a lie. That was never true. That is propaganda. Now, the question is, why would they put this propaganda out? And who do they want? Who benefits from this propaganda? And who is supposed to lose from this propaganda? Okay, one, it is supposed to attack BRICS. However, BRICS does not want to devalue the dollar. BRICS wants to de-weaponize the dollar. BRICS want to de-weaponize the dollar so that they, like other countries, do not have to be sanctioned. BRICS has no interest in weakening the United States dollar. For what? BRICS wants to profit off the United States economy. So they don't want to devalue the dollar, especially if they have stocks in the United States. That would be ridiculous. And the United States has a large economy, so of course they don't want anything to happen because they want to sell cars in America, sell computers, sell uranium, whatever. This is a big market. Nobody wants to lose their share of the market. Two, the United States put out this propaganda in defense of its hegemony. Now, who uses sanctions for the manipulation of the dollar for geopolitical control other than the United States? No one. The dollar was being used by the United States as an offensive weapon. The oceans were being used as defensive weapons. See, the purpose of the sanctions was to interrupt the cash flow of countries and to stop them from producing weapons. To stop them from producing weapons. That was the purpose of the sanctions. It was being used as an offensive weapon. The oceans were being used as a defensive weapon because back during the time that Reagan started this trickle-down thing, we didn't have to worry about missiles reaching the United States from Europe. Now, one must understand the United States is a corporate capitalist country whose motto is greed is good. Our agenda is profit maximization. So instead of modernizing the military, which is costly, the decision was made to use sanctions to cause financial hardships for offense and the oceans for defense. Limit a country's ability to produce missiles and other weapons. Now, finally, to strengthen United States hegemony, throw in some coups and assassinations of democratically elected officials. This is much less costly than maintaining an efficient military. And if push comes to shove, the United States can always threaten a nuclear war. So the United States felt like, hey, as long as we can threaten a Cold War, which nobody wants, then we don't have to invest in a strong military. However, what happened was that I want to say this. Before that happened, now, what you can do is allocate money for defense. The money allocated for defense spending can be misappropriated and stolen with no harm coming to the country. Supposedly, they felt that they had everything covered with the sanctions and the oceans, but they could not stop the technological advancement of other countries. Of course, because you have what? The black market. So countries can still purchase what they want through the black market, the same way the United States brings drugs into the United States through the black market. Now, everything was going good, supposedly, until Russia paid a visit to Cuba and Venezuela with a nuclear submarine. So therefore, the threat of using nuclear weapons diminished. Russia called the bluff. Now, during this time that America thought had everything going the way it wanted it to go, to save more money, the United States decided not to stockpile weapons. Although we are a country that sells military weapons, what we did was took orders first, then we made the weapons, thereby saving money on warehouses. Now we don't have to pay the fee or buy the buildings to stock up military supplies, saving money on warehouses. And this is how we've ended up in this situation, because the United States cut back on military personnel. Cut back on military personnel to do what? For the purpose of profit maximization. Cut back on military personnel. But what they did, they invested money, 800 bases around the world. But these bases were for covert activities for the purpose of assassinations and the overthrow of democratically elected governments, to cause problems, to cause disagreements. This is much cheaper than manufacturing and increasing military technology. And this is how we've ended up in this situation. We don't even, now we're giving Ukraine money to buy military equipment, which we don't have. We don't have. So the little that we decided to save for ourselves to defend ourselves, we have to give that to the Ukraine. Then we have to give what we call Star Wars. Israel calls the Iron Dome. And so we've just about given them what we call Star Wars. We've given that to Israel, and they've renamed it the Iron Dome. And now we're stuck, basically defenseless. So as I was saying before, I left you the YouTube site called Clear Value Text. Clear Value Text. And he will give you the facts and the information and proof that there was no petrodollar deal with Saudi Arabia. And you can do what you want to do, try to research and find that petrodollar deal. There was no petrodollar deal. There was an article, an agreement, an oil agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia, but it was not an agreement where they would only use American dollars to sell their oil. Like, subscribe, share with a friend. And I'm saying, and all these people are out here are saying, all these people are out here. I mean, when people don't research, you got all these news agencies and YouTubers talking about the petrodollar, which never existed. Never existed. The petrodollar makes about is a bigger lie as trickle down. Now, like, subscribe, share with a friend.